Hello everyone, my name is Astrit and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am a front-end developer and I like to do a lot of stuff in CSS, for example animating stuff such as this one that you see. This is like a simulation of a black hole and it is done using actually gradients and just transform, which is kind of pretty simple when you look at it. Also, last year I launched this project called CSS.GG, and it is a library with 700 icons done purely in CSS. Later on it went well, and then I decided to create the SVG version in Figma, so you can go ahead and check it on the website. But just to give you a picture on what I like to do and why I do stuff, because it is very interesting building objects using CSS, and thankfully this is possible lately, because it wasn't on the days when we used to do the websites using tables. So recently I was building this personal gallery and it became very heavy because the images were quite large and the quantity was above 100 something, and then I needed to do like a preloader for it, so the experience while waiting would be much better. So this is what I created, and it is actually my logo. It contains just 6 stripes and they are animated as you see it on the screen. They collapse into the first one, they rotate slightly, and like it indicates that the first one starts everything. So without losing any more time, we are going to go straight into VS Code, which is my default browser, and I'm using some extensions like a live server to see the preview directly on the browser. So let's go ahead and create a new file called index.html. Here we are going to use this emmet abbreviation, which you do just the exclamation mark, and then when you hit tab it's just going to autocomplete for you. Maybe this is not good to be used when you are a beginner because you want to learn the syntax completely, but it's okay to use it, and also you can autocomplete almost everything, especially on HTML and these basic stuff. So let's just type in also link and hit enter, so we autocomplete the link for the CSS that we are going to create right now. And then let's just say here style.css. We want this to be background black because that's the animation, and we want the margin 0 just to make sure that everything is working. Yes, we have it on the preview also. Now let's go ahead and create the syntax. And today we are going to use custom tags, currentColor, transform3d, and all this stuff, and I will explain step by step why you should. And we're going to start with custom tags. Custom tags, it is good to be used because they do not have any default style, and this means that you don't need to reset anything. And thankfully it has quite good support now on all the major browsers, so feel free to use it. Maybe not so much on some websites that need support on Internet Explorer, or who knows, some old aged browsers. So we're going to say AM logo, and again you can use here the abbreviation to autocomplete. You just hit tab and you have it as it is. And now we are going to create the stripes inside. Let's call them AM stripe, and again on emmet you can multiply and just add the star, and we need 6 of them, and you hit tab and that's it. Okay, so you just understand what we are doing, and actually pretty much this is the only markup that you need. But you also may say, like, why would you create 6 tags instead of having one and creating that shape, which is pretty easy to do also with the gradients. But we are going to animate this, and it will never perform as good as having them separately like this, because the gradient is going to still to dependent on the parent. So let's go to style.css and write AM logo. AM logo here, for example, is a tag itself, and you don't need to add a dot in front of it or a hashtag, because it's not either a class or a ID, so it's just simply the tag, and that's how you call it. We are going to give it a width of 88 pixels and also a height of 40, sorry, height, not height, a height of 40 pixels, because that's the width of the and the height of the logo that we did. And we are going to say for now just background gray, so we know that we are doing the stuff how we should. And on the body we are going to say display flex, justify content into the center, and align items into the center. Also we have to give it a height of 100 view height, so we see the object placed on the center. And view height is the viewport height or the screen height. You don't want necessarily to use this, but since we are doing the preview, it's totally fine. The height of the body, of course, it depends on the content that you're building. Okay, so now let's create a stripe. And as I said, the width is 88 pixels, so this means that one stripe is going to be 8 pixels width and 100% the height. And also we are going to have 5 spaces equaling the width of a single stripe. So width 8 pixels, height 100%. Let's say background for now, currentColor. Why we're using here currentColor is that I found out while building CSS.GG that using this prop is very useful when you build graphics and stuff like this with CSS, different objects, because it will inherit the color from the parent or even up to the body. Like for example, if we would do a color in the body and then the logo, it will get the color from the logo. But this is nice since when building objects, usually they tend to have the color of the sibling or the content, and feel free to use any color that you want, but I like to use most of the times currentColor because I define it on a parent. Okay, let's say now here color white, and we are going to say also for the logo position relative, because we want to position the stripes on position absolute and we don't want them to get outside of the object or the parent. Okay, now you may say why we're seeing only one, but since we have 6 stripes and we're using position absolute, of course all of them collapse into the left one or into the first one. And if we were about to inspect this, we can see all of these objects here which are collapsed into the first one. Okay, now since we have the basic structure and pretty much this is all what we need to make this work, and actually we are not going to even need the background. So now let's position all the stripes into their final position, how it's going to be, and then from that position we are going to animate them and just see how it goes. Okay, so when we do AM stripe, we want to say nth child, so we select each one of them and transform them how we need. So we're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then we say here 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can keep command pressed and then click on each one of them, so we do them all together. And we're going to say transform translate3d and animation delay, because we want to delay the animation for each one of them, and in that way we will have this smooth animation as you saw on the beginning. Okay, when we press save, it will auto format, and I'm using auto formatting on VS Code, and you should too, because this is a very good practice when you use CSS. Maybe there are different options, and actually there are when you use Webpack and other stuff, but in this case we are using to format the files on save. And as we said on the first one, we don't actually need the animation, and actually this is going to stay on the position and we don't need this either. But on the first one we are going to say scale to 1, and then we are going to say rotate this to 0 degrees. Why, you will understand later. Now you may say why we're not saying just translate but translate3d, and usually when you want to have smooth animations you want to use translate3d instead of translate, because this actually will put into work your GPU and it will be way smoother than anything else. But also you should be cautious, and be careful when having too many animations on the website and you want to use this, because then the website could be quite heavy. Now for the actually for the second stripe, we wanted to say like from the left side we wanted to have 16 pixels and then 0 on the other axis because it's height of 100%. Oops. And we want to delay this by 0.1 second from the first stripe. We want the next one to have it 32 pixels and 0 and again 0, and we want this 0.2 seconds to be delayed. The fourth one, we want this 64 pixels and 0 and 0, or actually my mistake here, 48 instead of 60, because this is going to be 64 pixels and 0 and 0. And as you can see here, slowly it's actually building up. We are going to say here, let's say 80 pixels. So we have just even down further. 0.3 seconds, we want to have the delay for the fourth child. For the fifth, we want to have it 0.4 seconds. And the sixth one, 0.6 seconds. Okay, so you will not see any animation because now we just declared the initial position before the animation will start. But also this will be kind of the final step when the animation completes. So what we are going to do now is we are going to say keyframes and hit enter to autocomplete, and we are going to give the animation a name. Let's say on this case AM, since we are doing the tags also, and it just works. Okay, now as I said, we declared the initial position, but we don't need to do that here also. Like we don't need to say from 2 since we declared for every one of them. So now we say just 2, and then we're going to say transform translate3d, and we want them to be 20 pixels from the left, 0 and 0. And why we're doing 20 pixels from the left is because we don't want necessarily to collapse with the first one, as when we do this animation and both of them are white, they would collapse and you actually wouldn't see anything. But we want the animation to feel as fluid as possible and just see that transition through them. Okay, we are going to say to this to scale 0.8 just slightly, so while the animation happens we see the stripes becoming even less tall than the first one, and then we want to slightly rotate this to 4 degrees. And by this, now you understand why on the first one I said scale to 1 and rotate to 0 degrees. Because we don't want the first one to do the same as the rest, as we want to simulate that all the stripes collapsing into the first one. Okay, now we hit save, and of course you won't see the animation here because we need to declare that animation into the stripe. So as we said, the name of the stripe is AM, or the animation is AM. We want this animation to happen for 1.8 seconds. And for now, let's leave it on linear so I can show you the difference between linear and using cubic-bezier. And we are going to say linear here. Also, we want this animation to run infinitely because we are going to stop on some other methods, and also you can use the play state. For example, if the page has loaded, you can do animation play state and pause or stop or whatever you need. We are going to do the timing as alternate reverse, or actually the direction we want on to happen on both sides. Okay, now you can see the animation happening, but it is not actually, and also I forgot that we want to happen this infinitely, so we say infinite, yeah, the animation is happening, but is a bit different from the first one that I showed you, right? Let's remove this background gray so we don't need this as a reference anymore, and now we see the animation. Now, what you want to do usually when you use linear and you're not sure what values you want to use for cubic-bezier, actually it is very neat feature here on DevTools. You can always go here, and when you see linear, you will have an icon before it, or whatever options that you use here, you will have an icon here. You can just click on it, and then you can drag these toggles and just play with them and see what is feeling good. And you can see now how different the animation is. depending on what kind of animation you're doing, you just want to see it here, and then you can simply copy this and go into linear, remove that. When you save, it will automatically do the animation. Also, one other neat thing that you want to do here on animation is that people don't usually understand what's happening with every other option here. And that's simply okay. And you can go still into Chrome DevTools, just open this arrow. You will see everything, what it means. For example, duration, as we said, we wanted 1.8 seconds. The timing is a cubic-bezier in this count. We want to run it infinitely and stuff. So this is a pretty good section actually to understand what is going when you're browsing other people's code and stuff. So pretty much this is it. This is the animation that we wanted to do, and actually I wanted to share with you. But it doesn't mean that we want to stop here. We can even push it further. For example, let's say, because this actually is only the animation, if we want to use it somewhere, you probably won't be able to use it as it is like this, because you want to wrap it. And let's say preloader here, and let's put inside everything. So usually I keep Alt and then play with the arrows to move the code up and down. And when we say now preload, it will break it because we haven't declared the preload. Now we're going to declare here preload, and we're going to give it some props. Preloader. We want it to be width 100%. We want it to be the height of 100%. But in this case, we are considering that this preloader is going to go above some content or the entire content. So we want it to be position fixed. And we are going to assume that it's going to be above all content, so you must add some z-index. And right now, just add a ridiculous amount of 100, so it's completely above everything. Okay, and we want to have it display flex because we want to center everything and align items center. Okay, now you can see the animation happening, and there isn't any difference from what we had initially, but right now is way more independent, because now, for example, we can go and create a main tag, which is going to be our content, and let's say h1 here, and this is a animation. Okay, now you can see the text beneath here, which shows as the content as it should. But what we are going to do now on the preloader is going to say background, and we are going to say RGBA. And now we want to have the red 0, we want the green also 0, because we want to have just a slight layer above it. And actually the backdrop filter to work, we have to do this, and also 0. The alpha or transparency, we want it to 0.1. Now let's say backdrop filter, and we want it blur by 10 pixels. You should probably say here background color, because we don't want to apply anything else. Okay, now you can see how the background is blurred, and for that matter, whatever you're going to add underneath is going to be like this, blurred. And for that, just to demonstrate, we're going to say to the main tag that we did, width of 100% and height of 100%. And also we want a background. I have saved here a link which we're going to use. And now here we want to say no repeat for the background. We want to have it positioned as center, and then we want to have it as cover, so to fill in all the space. And now you can see how the background became full, it's cover, and this backdrop filter is pretty nice. And actually this is how you can achieve a pretty good preloader or layer above everything. So when the content is loaded, then you can just simply remove this. And you can even go further, because backdrop filter has much more options. And you can say, for example, grayscale, and we want it to 100, and you see how it is black and white. So thank you very much for joining. Hopefully you have learned something new today, and you can feel free to share it, to write a comment. If you like the video, please make sure to like it. And if you're not subscribed, feel free to subscribe. Or if you don't like it, just dislike it, whatever will help me. So for the end of this video, please make sure to go to my GitHub account. It's /Astrit, and in Twitter or CodePen. I will be pushing this into GitHub, so you can find it on the comments down below. And thank you very much for joining. Have a nice one. See you